Welcome to the City of Eureka Springs Boza and Planning Commission meetings. Today is Tuesday, October 8th. It's 6 o'clock. We're in the auditorium. We have a public hearing tonight, which is a zoning variance application on, what is this, 1921 Fairmont? Mm-hmm. And its last name of the applicant is Wright. And it is a side setback variance for a single-family residence. Do we have anybody here representing that property? You guys want to ask any questions?
Yeah. State your name and address.
Travis Holloway, and our office is 64 Center Street.
So you're the builder, not the owner?
Yes.
But you're representing the owner tonight?
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
And
Go ahead.
How we got here, just a short story. The owner had met on the property.
Can you pull that mic up to, yeah.
Yeah, the owner met on the property previous to having their house drawn with Kyle Palmer and Jacob Coburn, and they agreed to the size of the house on the property, even though it had like a 2-foot setback on the sides. And the owner was told by Jacob that he could approve a small variance like that. So they went ahead and built or had their house drawn to size.
Based on that conversation?
Yes. Based on that conversation, I know it's a residential property, so we don't actually have to go to planning and zoning unless we need a variance. And so after our HDC meeting, I started questioning the process and everything, and they said we had to come here to ask for a variance. And so that's how we got here.
Ann?
It was my understanding HTC denied,
Yes.
and this is what they denied. Is that correct?
Actually, they didn't have a real good reason to deny it, other than they just didn't like it. Two of the ladies, so.
I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So they didn't have a real good reason to deny the house, other than they just didn't like it.
Okay, so they didn't give you any specific reasons why they denied?
One lady said it was too big, thought it was too big, and the other lady said she just didn't like it.
And those were the HDC commissioners?
Yeah.
Okay,
It was a 2-2 vote.
okay.
So on the paperwork, Cassie, did you go to that meeting?
I did not.
Okay, I was just kind of curious on the paperwork that came back from the HDC if those were the reasons that were stated as to it being denied. So, Mike?
I have a couple of questions. First off, on your application, it says 19 and 21 Fairmont. I've been over there twice. The undeveloped property right there, that is with the stakes and cones, stakes that show the points, is that 19 or 21?
I believe it's 19.
And then 21 is the one to the west of that property, the developed property?
I'm not familiar with 21.
Okay, that's what because I went there and took pictures of them, and I see the undeveloped area, but I didn't see the actually, the email I got, it only showed 21. So if 21 is the one to the west, you're 19, the 17 is the one to the right of you, if I'm looking at it. The property where I have a picture of a property post, and then I have a picture of the 3 property markers along the east side, parallel to that wall. Mm-hmm. Those markers, is that where the house is, or is that the property line?
No, that's the house. Those orange markers are the house.
Okay.
I've got have a picture of those if anybody else likes to see it.
Well, I measured and then if that one marker that's out toward the street that sets off to the side, if that's the property line, mm-hmm. You're going to have to upbuild on the other side of that wall to get everything up to that outside property line, because as existing right now, that wall right there to your markers is only 6 feet apart.
We're planning to park in front of the house.
No, I'm talking about the development to push it out you're asking for a variance of,
It's
2
2
feet.
feet.
I mean, how far?
So it's 10.
You're
He's
asking for a
asking
variance
for
of 6
2
feet, 10 feet?
8. It
Yeah.
would be 8
8,
if he
so-
takes 2 off.
That wall, the existing wall there on the east side, I guess it is, that's a couple of feet onto their property already.
Yeah, I know.
That's not actually
Yeah,
covered.
I realize that. That's what I'm saying. That distance, as I measured it today, that distance for where the house markers are to that wall is only 7 feet. So if you're asking for a variance of 10, the other marker that's out on the street, you would have to upbuild past that wall to level it off with the current to give an extra 3 more feet.
Okay,
to get this variance.
So just as far as the code goes, he has he's supposed to have 10 feet. So he's saying that he'll be 2 feet in from that, he'll be at 8 feet.
Okay? Yeah, the 8
So
feet.
that's
though,
what he's asking for, is that 2-foot variance to make it 8 instead of 10.
as
I might need to adjust that.
8 foot right now would be 2 feet of airspace. Because there's a wall right here that drops. I measured it a while ago. It's 6 foot from their markers to that wall. To get another 2 feet, that's 2 feet of air on that back section where it starts. On the front, the property line curves around in front of the wall, and there's a marker there for the property line. But if you were to measure from those markers to 8 feet, you're going to have 18 inches to 2 feet of airspace that you're going to be building on top of. Is that correct? You understand what I'm saying?
No, I don't.
You're talking about the wall on the right side?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that wall right there, that wall where it marks, see, the property kind of does a little dog leg in the front. There's a space right here to the right that extends past the wall, and that's about 4 or 5 feet, and there's a marker right there. I assume that's the property line. Well, when it comes back to that little gap, then you have a wall that has empty space between the wall and that one property marker. Well, right there, you have the lines for that. Anyway, I'm just saying, as it stands right now, the distance from those markers to that wall is no more than 7 feet. If you're looking for an 8-foot variance, I mean, we'd have to get an engineer or somebody out there to verify it, but I measured it myself, and I only got 6.5 to 7 feet.
Yeah.
Well, the property is approximately 40 feet wide, and the house is 24 feet wide. So that leaves 8 feet on each side of the house.
Okay, I mean, that may be, but I mean, I would have to go out there with somebody.
Do you have the survey, or?
Yeah, but that doesn't show where the property line goes and how the staggered arm of the property line goes. Anyways, just I just want to say this is an issue that I would consider when I make my vote whether to grant this variance.
No, this survey doesn't.
And we can
dog leg
yeah,
or whatever you're talking
I
about.
think it would be we need to do a site inspection to really to see visually what I'm thinking of. I saw in my own eyes. Anyway, I just want to make this a point. It's a question and a point. And I have 2 more questions after that.
Okay.
To me, I would need to have a site visit to verify the distance, because it just seems to me that you're asking for an initial 2 feet to 18 inches on that east side that extends past the wall. Now, I could be incorrect, but
That's incorrect.
yeah, I went and measured it today, just about at 5 o'clock. So anyway, I'd like to get that. So I may be wrong. I'd just like to see it, because I'm just saying that's going to be my opinion of what I saw today will affect my vote today. I'm just letting you know why. Because you said earlier that the HDC didn't give you reasons why. So my second question is, I got 2 more questions. Anybody else got anything?
Can I show
No,
somebody
go
this
ahead.
picture?
Sure, come
Yeah,
on.
I think I got a copy of it.
Yeah. You got it.
Pass this picture around.
Okay.
Or start with Mike, since
Yeah.
start with him, since he's the one that has the
Yeah.
questions. Just explain to him.
Hi. What's your name?
I'm Travis Holloway.
Mike Wells. I think it's Travis.
This is the property line.
I know. That's where I'm getting the distance.
That's the wall.
Yeah. I measure, and then over here, if you go snip farther out where the wall goes, it stops about right here, and it goes a jagged little dog leg thing, and there's another marker here. I thought that was indicate where the property line actually starts. But I measured, now, like I said, I measured, let's take measure of my feet. I got 6 feet, 7.2 feet, and never got more than 7.5 feet.
That's about right to the wall, but the property line's on the other side of the wall.
I know the property line, but but the property line, okay. Can I draw something for you? Yeah. All right. You have a square here, and that's where the wall is. And here's the markers, and here's the other wall on the other side. The markers are here, 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 and that's the wall, and there's empty space here. Over here, there's another addition to the property that extends out.
No, that'd actually help us.
That's the marker, property line there. So the property line goes out into the air, but it goes past the wall.
Correct. That would actually help us.
Well, that's fine, but see this distance right here? If that's not 8 feet, you're going to have to build up.
No, but we're not building over to the wall.
Okay, but
We're staying on top of the wall.
I know, but in order to get that 8-foot variance, my measurements, you've only got 6.5 feet of dirt. You're going to have to get another 18 inches of dirt to measure that.
But the variance is just the space from the wall of the building
Uh-huh.
Actual property.
to the actual
line.
property line. So if he makes the building smaller than that, then he will still.
Okay, that's okay then.
Yeah,
Okay,
so he'll
you can
still
have-
be
You
with-
can have
It's where
18 inches of air.
basically, because I mean, he still has that
There you go.
property
I
line.
thought that it actually had to have, you had to have 8 inches
8 feet.
of property.
I think we would find the edge of the property line, level straight up, measure across. And
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I mean, thank you for clarification.
Does anybody else need this picture?
No, we
Yeah,
haven't.
that's the only thing I'm glad you clarified that, because I kept looking at the distance from the property line to that wall as being 6.5 feet. And I thought, well, they're asking for
That's
an
right.
8-foot variance.
That's correct, but the property
Yeah,
line
okay.
is on.
All
I
right.
got 2 more quick questions.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, well, thank you for clarifying that. But my second question is, your square footage of your house based on occupancy, has that, your occupancy based on square foot been approved by the fire marshal? Because in Arkansas, we cannot dictate the square footage of a house. I got a reference from Jim Van Tundlen last week, but for tiny houses specifically. But the fire marshal has to approve the square footage based on the occupancy rate. In other words, if you've got 3 people living there, the fire marshal has got a set square footage that he will approve your construction. So you can't build a
Right,
100-foot wide house with 3 people living in it.
yeah. Well, Michael, this is just for the variance, so we have to focus only on the variance.
Okay.
Not the building. We're not doing the building at all.
Oh, okay, okay.
So just the variance.
Okay, then never mind. I just wanted to,
I mean, it'll come to us
Yeah.
later if there's something, but.
should I
that's
give him a heads up now of 2 things that's going to come
Sure,
up?
sure, you can give them the heads up.
Okay,
Just make sure you speak into your mic.
Yeah, talk into the mic.
Just make sure you speak into the mic.
okay, yeah, just, I want to make sure that you get the fire department's approval on the square footage based on the occupancy rate. And the second thing is, these are just heads up for the next time you come before us. The second thing is, I didn't see anything in the plans. I know this is not variance. I didn't see anything for sidewalk. You're going to have to put sidewalks in new construction throughout Eureka Springs. I just wanted to make you aware of that, so when you come back in front of us, and I bring it up again, you'll be aware of that question.
Okay.
Thank you. That's all I have.
All right, who else?
I apologize for going off
Do
message.
you have any questions, Fergie?
No, I'm good, I'm good.
Ann?
I just had a question. On a single-family dwelling, you have to have 2 parking spaces, and I'm just confused as to where that's going to be.
Over 40 feet, it's 21 feet to the street in front of the house. And we have a little over 12 feet from the house to the property line.
So one more
We're
question.
planning to park in front of the
Yeah,
house.
just wait until.
Just to clarify for my own personal, I'm still new at this. We are only voting today on the variance application.
well,
Nothing to do with the
well,
construction.
Yeah, this is
parking.
just a hearing portion, but we will be voting on the variance
Okay,
application.
I got it. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions during this, the public hearing?
One question. Travis, in talking to Jacob Coburn, how many square feet does this lot encompass?
Total square feet of the whole entire lot?
Yes,
Let's see. Roughly 3,200.
Did Jacob mention in R1 you need a minimum lot size of at least 4,000 square feet?
No?
Okay, so you not discussed that with him about the lot, the fact that you don't have enough square footage to put a house on that lot?
No, it never came up.
Okay.
All right, anyone else have any questions? Okay. All right, so let's go ahead and end our public hearing. Can I get a motion?
Question? We do
Go ahead.
public comments on this? We don't do that?
We'll do it after, when we go into
I'm
Board of
sorry, what
Zoning.
did you ask for?
We're going to end the public hearing. So just to be formal, can we just do
Motion
it?
to end the hearing.
Second.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second to end the public hearing. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, we'll bring you back up probably in a few minutes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so let's do roll call.
Anson Lee,
Here.
Mike Welch,
Here.
Susan Harmon,
Here.
Fergie Stewart.
Here.
I'm President Tom Buford, and we also have Cassie Dishman, the new planning staff person. Welcome to your work experience and your first meeting with the Planning Commission.
Thank you.
All right, we're going to stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, we're going to move into our Board of Zoning Adjustment meeting. Can I get an approval of the agenda, please?
Motion to approve the agenda.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion to approve the agenda and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move into public comment. So I've got several letters here to read. Do you have the list? You want to call them off? If she calls your name off, know that this is for the Board of Zoning. So this is in regards to public comments related to the zoning variance at 19 Fairmont and a tree removal on Spring Street. So if she calls your name and you're one of those, come on up and do your public comment. You just have to state your name and your address.
Betsy Rodier.
21 Fairmont, Betsy Rodier.
We can't hear you.
Yeah, there you go.
Yep, just pull it down.
21 Fairmont, Betsy Rodier. Can you hear me now? Okay. First, I want to thank Christine Centimore on the HDC for doing her job in moving this new construction to the Planning Commission for approval. Second, I want to thank Ann Tandy Sally and Tom Buford for responding to my email and thanking the Planning Commissions who took the time to visit the proposed site. I'm here tonight to ask that you take into account before approving the construction proposal, especially since the variance is needed to accommodate the proposed two-bedroom, two-bath design. I'm certainly not against new construction. Travis Holloway did the renovations for my house. He's a very conscientious and reputable builder. I realize that new construction is a much-needed source of revenue for the city. That said, new construction still needs to fit well within the boundaries of the site and must conform to the neighborhood without further burden our smart historic community and its aging infrastructure. The water sewage infrastructure is in a state of emergency. Adding new pipes for a two-bedroom, two-bath construction, possibly 4 to 6 more people, definitely increases the burden of our age-fragile system. We have already had a number of sewage problems on our street, including myself. Parking on our narrow street is already a problem. The proposed residence will be located at the narrowest part of the street. This section of the street is hazardous in winter. The bottom exit is simply avoided in winter conditions since it's undrivable, which leaves all residents enter and exit at the top of Fairmont. I've lived at 20 Fairmont for 17 years. Time after time, I've seen residents get stuck and spun out in front of my house. Adding cars from new construction to this section of the street in winter adds to the danger of using the street in winter. This new two-bedroom, two-bath could add up to 6 more people to our street, especially if it ends up being a rental property. Given the large footprint of the proposed construction, it would be extremely challenging, if not impossible, to create 2 9-by-19 feet parking spaces. The increased number of vehicles parking on the street, either from the residents of the new construction or the guests, will further constrict traffic. For example, consider the new construction on Howell Street approved several years ago. Due to limited parking, residents of the new home straddle their designated off-street parking area with the roadside. That parking scenario will not work on Fairmont, as it would severely restrict traffic, and it would be a tight fit for large vehicles to even fit into a 9-by-19 space. We're also dealing with overnight lodging next door, which sometimes has up to 4 cars trying to get in and out of their off-street parking area. This also restricts traffic. I realize the city is encouraging smaller homes, which I appreciate, but due to its large footprint, the proposed design requires a variance. The drawing as it is leaves very little green space, and I ask, will the last remaining trees on the lot need to be chopped down? Will the house blend in with the Victorian landscape, or will it stand out from the neighboring houses? Will it have a stone front? I ask that the design is presented that will not excessively burden the neighborhood infrastructure, is more appropriate for the lot size, and is in keeping with and will add to the beauty of our historic neighborhood. As such, I ask that you table this construction plan until a more appropriate structure for the neighborhood has been presented to planning. Thank you.
Thank you.
Steve Hollifield.
Now, I want to talk generally about the CAPC tax. Is that something I do here?
Do it. Let's do it at a later.
Okay.
Yeah. During planning. Planning.
Lisa Laris.
Hello, can you hear me? I live at 17 Fairmont, and my first question is, this was supposed to be for 21, the setback variance for 21 Fairmont, is that correct? Where did the 19 come from? Because I thought I owned 19. Do we have that information? Is that something we can look into?
Our agenda says 19/21 Fairmont.
So he owns 2 pieces of land that he's,
That's,
okay.
I can't speak on your public comments, but we can ask questions later, but you're.
Okay, I got you. I just wanted to, I was just
It's not a
confused.
questioning and answering session.
I got you. I was just confused because,
Thank you.
like I said, I thought I owned 19.
I didn't mean to interrupt.
So, my concerns, to kind of just echo what Betsy already said, are we have flow of traffic, parking concerns already, as it is on this street. So questions as to whether or not there's going to be space for them to park 2 cars in front, if they're going to be able to make parking spaces for that. But as the owner that lives below that brick wall that you were talking about, I realize that his property line extends through the air over my backyard, but the space where they would be building would only be 6 feet from that wall. There would be a lot of burden put on the wall, so I'd like to have somebody do an inspection as to see whether or not that wall is going to, maintain during construction and not collapse into my yard. And then that's something that I have to deal with. I assume he'll pay for it because the wall does belong to that property, but he's wanting to build 6 feet from there. So other concerns not related to the setback variance, I put in the email that I sent y'all just regarding the sewer issues, the water issues, the burden of adding additional water flow to Magnolia Path, which is a city-owned path, is the only way that water is going to be able to flow down his gutters through a French drain would be leading to a city path. So that's something to take in consideration. There is no other outlet for the water for him to flow it downhill. Runoff from gutters or anything that backs up is going to go into my backyard because the house is going to be so close to my property. There's not going to be any gap there or any space there for water to accumulate runoff, if that makes sense. But this was all in that letter. I sent a few pictures, so hopefully you guys all got that. Good?
Thank you.
Thank you.
That's it.
That's it? Okay, so I have one more that's public comment on this particular property. This is from Gary Tobe. It says, Dear Cassie and Glenna Booth, as the owners of the property at 23 Fairmont Street, we are writing to share our concerns in opposition to granting the requested 2-foot side setback variances from 10 feet to 8 feet to the owners of the property at 21 Fairmont Street. We feel it would be too imposing to have a structure built so close to our cottage. It feels like it would place their house right on top of us. We are particularly concerned about noise and the lack of privacy for the guests who rent out our cottage. We respectfully request that you deny the variance and enforce the required 10-foot setback. Sincerely, Gary Tobe and Kathy Martone. All right, so that's public comments for our Board of Zoning and Adjustment meeting. We don't have any unfinished business, so let's go right into new business, and we'll start with the zoning variance application at 19 Fairmont. This is for owner Wright, last name of Wright, and this is the side setback variance for a single-family residence from 10 foot to 8 foot.
Motion to discuss?
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to go ahead and discuss. Mike?
Well, I don't feel comfortable voting at this stance because I need clarification now of the 19-21 Fairmount, but then down on the zoning application, it says 19 Fairmount. So I need clarification as to is there 2 properties there, and do they?
There are not 2 properties. When I came in last week,
Can you say that again? Can you speak closer?
There are not 2 properties. When I came in last week, there was a certain amount of communication that said 19, a certain amount that said 21, all referring to the same property. I was unsure which is the correct number or who to ask. So
That's what I'd like to clarify that, because if it is 19 Fairmont, it's that one undeveloped spot there. I have a lot more questions about the lines, just along with now that what you, Tom brought up about the square footage of the house versus the square footage of the property. I would move that we suspend this decision until we can do a site
Postpone.
review. Postpone this decision until we can arrange a site visit to clarify the addresses and then also the variance distances that they're proposing. And because of that wall and that space there, and also the fact that it's listed as two properties in one, I can't give a good, accurate vote either way to support this or deny it. So I move that we what's the word?
Postpone.
Postpone this hearing until we can arrange a site visit.
Are we still under discussion?
He made a motion.
I second it.
Okay, so we've got a motion and a second. Let's go ahead and, does anybody have any other thoughts or comments?
No, that's fine.
Did you, Tom?
No.
Okay, so the motion was that we postpone this until we get a clarification on the actual address of the property. We've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify.
I was pending a site visit. I'd like to be able to go see it.
Okay, so Cassie, have you ever done a site visit?
Not in Eureka Springs?
Okay, so basically, if we do a site visit, then we have to notify the media that we're doing a site visit, because we will all be there at the same time. So technically, what we would do is we'd say, we're going to do it on this day, you're going to check with all of us and see if that works for us, and it would probably be about 30 minutes, but in addition to that, you'd have to invite the press. Okay? All right, so the motion is to go ahead and postpone pending a site visit.
Is this a site visit with Mr. Holloway there? So questions can be answered?
If he can be there, yeah. He's saying he could be.
Okay.
We'll just have to coordinate with him as to the day and the time and all of that. So we'll include him on the emails when we do that. Motion and a second. Postponing 19 Fairmont, or whatever address it is, pending a site visit. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right. Okay, so Cassie will be in touch with you as far as when we can do that. Okay? All right, thank you. Okay, next item, tree removal appeal, 77, 79, 81 Spring. Applicant is John Cross, as far as owner goes, and this is to remove one walnut tree in rear parking lot. And if you look at
Right.
the information that we were given, it is right there
Yep.
causing some havoc, is the reason for removal. Anybody have any questions about this?
No.
Mike?
Oh, go ahead.
Oh, I don't have any questions. Go ahead.
Well, I went back there the other day and took pictures because I didn't think that this drawing really gave it justice. And the tree is, I mean, I don't know what the determinations specifically of tree removal, but this tree is at least 60 feet high. So I don't know what the age is, and I know there's stipulations within the things about tree removal being age or size or thing, but it's about 60 feet high. It's taller than all the buildings, which are 3-story. It's probably got a diameter about the size of a garbage can, and it's not abutting the property. And
How far from the building is it? Did you measure by chance?
about probably half a foot,
How many?
6 inches.
Yeah, it's really.
I can show you the picture if you'd like to pass it around.
In the tree ordinance, there is a requirement that if it's within, I think, 10 feet, that's one of the reasons that we can, approve a removal of the tree if it is, like, say, impacting the foundation or the sidewalk or whatever.
Okay, well, thank you.
Yeah.
All right, anyone else have any questions about this one?
I make a motion that we approve the removal of the tree.
I second.
All right, we've got a motion to approve the removal of the tree, and we've got a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. Cassie, what do you prefer? Do you prefer we sign everything at the end of the meeting, after the meeting, or do you want to do it while, I mean, we don't have anybody here to collect any papers, so
You can sign it at the end.
at the end? Okay. All right. Can I get a motion to adjourn our?
Motion to adjourn the Board of Zoning.
Second?
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we're going to move into Planning Commission. Approval of the agenda.
I make
Motion to
mo- oh,
approve the agenda.
Okay,
I second.
I have
Quick.
one thing. If I can get to that.
I remove my motion.
Yes, please, hold on. I meant to say it earlier. Can we move, under commission business, can we move the number 2 to be either before, well, to be before number 4? So can we move 3 up to 2 and 2 to 3? Does that make sense?
Okay, you want to be, can you list how you want them?
I want
to be
number 2 to be 3
Okay.
and number 3 to be 2. Please.
Got it.
Motion to approve the agenda as amended.
Second?
All right, motion and a second to approve the agenda as amended. All those in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, so we're going to move into public comments. So Steve, if you
Yeah.
would like to do your
Mr. Holyfield?
public comment now?
Hello. I'm Steve Holofield, 12 Hillside here in Eureka Springs. I'm here tonight not to talk as a city council member or the chair of the CAPC. I'm here as a concerned citizen and neighbor concerned about this referendum on the November 5th ballot to do away with the CAPC commission and the CAPC tax. I think it would be devastating to our community if this went away. And I want to remind people the tax is not collected by individuals, so if people look at that, it's not like it's something you pay every year in a tax. It is collected by hotels and restaurants. Yes, you pay a little bit, 3%, I think, a little bit more when you buy a hamburger, but that's about it. So we don't, it's something that citizens here in town don't actually pay. It's collected by the tourists. Other places have done this. It's been disastrous. No place has ever done this has not regretted it. They have turned out to really hurt their tourism, hurt their town, hurt their livelihoods, and have turned around. I think the whole state of Colorado did this once. It took them 10 years to get their tourism back up to where it was. A lot of people in town are saying this seems to be a no-brainer. Nobody's going to vote for this, but please don't take that for granted. Talk to your neighbors. Talk to your friends. It's people inside the city limits are going to vote for this. You have to live inside of town, be a registered voter. Please talk to folks. Educate them what the CAPC does. This building right here is totally financed by the CAPC. If the CAPC went away, I don't know how the city would come with the money to finance this building. It would probably close like it was before the CAPC tax started. And lots of stuff in town that's funded by the CAPC would go away. And if you have any questions or concerns, please talk to me personally or call the CAPC office. Tomorrow, on Wednesday at 6 o'clock, there's going to be a CAPC workshop right here talking about next year's budget. So if anybody wants to know where the money's spent, how the money's spent, or if you want to give input on how the money's spent that the CAPC collects, please show up. And I watch every one of your meetings. I appreciate you all volunteering, and thanks for being here. Okay?
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
All right, anybody else for public comments? Anybody else have any public comments for planning? No? Okay. All right, let's go into unfinished business. So we've got 8 Washington, which is the owner's last name is Funston, and this is a continuance of a show cause hearing that we did at our last meeting. And Cassie, do you know did you have correspondence with the Funstons?
I did. I provided them the Zoom link to this meeting. If they're not here, I don't know why, because I know they intended to be.
Okay, so the question is, do we postpone this again if it doesn't look like we've got them here? Or do we just go on with our meeting? I mean, you
I
guys
don't know if I
have
have
to
to make a
decide.
motion, but I make a motion, we just go on with the meeting.
Okay.
Second that.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second to continue on with this show cause hearing, even though the owner is not present physically or by Zoom. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, so,
Motion
Who wants-
Motion to discuss.
yeah.
And second?
All right, who wants to lead it? You want to start?
I looked on their website this afternoon before I came, and on Airbnb, it listed as a private residence. Does not say anything about breakfast. It lists, I think his name is Jonas,
Jonas.
as a host. They live in Arizona. It's my understanding they don't have a manager. And they've now converted part of the property to a long-term rental. I'm not sure we can help them.
So the original CUP was for a two-bedroom or a two-unit bed and
Correct.
breakfast. The original owners lived on property. There are basically three apartments, but it is for currently they have a license for a two-unit bed and breakfast
Correct.
as a CUP.
And I went back and I reviewed the tape from December the 12th of 23, and although they did not attend, their realtor attended and was asked if they were going to live there, indicated they would live there or they would have a manager live there. And that has not happened. And that is not a bed and breakfast. That has become a tourist lodging.
Tom?
Just, I guess, since they're not there, and we're going to, I assume, vote tonight on that, I did go back and look at the time frame. It looked like he purchased the property on 2/23 of 2024, and he started a B&B on 6/14 of 2024. On August the 24th of 2024, he had correspondence with Kyle Palmer at that time, where he informed Kyle that he had gotten a business license and a CP tax permit, and that he had somebody managing the property that lived across the street. He was informed that did not qualify under the rules. He had to have somebody on site. As we pointed out, there is a tenant there with a long-term lease. And as a matter of fact, I think she's on vacation out of the state right now this month. So she does not qualify as a operator, on-site person that they would need to have to meet the requirements. So it looks like that he's done nothing to meet the requirements that the staff person has placed upon him in accordance with the rules and regulations. And that's kind of like the time frame.
Mike?
Okay. Since I'm new to this, and it's only been 4 months, and this started back in December, I just ran through, and I want to get a timeline and let me know if I'm incorrect on any of this items coming back from 12/12/23. I see that in December 2023, they applied for a CUP transfer of a bed and breakfast operation in a Victorian residential district. On 12/12/23, Ms. Celia Foy of Century 21 in Siloam Springs spoke on behalf of the applicants at the planning review of that application on 12/12/23. Commissioner Ann Tanley asked, they are planning on living there? Ms. Foy answered exactly, yes. Yes, they are. Either they are, or yes, they have a manager in mind. They have spoken to a manager and are waiting for everything in its final stages. Mrs. Foy followed up with, the applicant is intending to live there or have their manager there at all times. Based on these statements, and the owner signed the application stating it was a bed and breakfast and that an on-site manager was required, the commission approved that application on 12/12/23. On April 1st, 2024, the applicant signed a long-term rental agreement with Corey Dremel. Mr. Dremel paid a deposit of $1,200 and agreed to a monthly $1,200 rental for an entire year. In that contract that she stated that she signed, The owner stated that, this is back in April, the owner stated that certain parking spaces were to be reserved for Airbnb guests. She did not indicate anything about a bed and breakfast. On their ad at that site, they initially did not state the business was exclusively a bed and breakfast rental, even though that's the license you applied for. Okay, this is going to take just a little bit more.
It's okay.
On receipt of that $2,400 and operating as a business, they were responsible for filing CAP license and start paying monthly taxes for that tenant, even though they were in violation of their application as a bed and breakfast. They were becoming a business at that point, so they need to have been paying taxes since she gave them that $2,400. And I want to know, I was going to ask them if they're here, but they're not here. So I was going to ask them, have you filed a CPAC monthly report since you received the $2,400 from Mrs. Dremel showing the monies you received and for the subsequent short-term rental customers you've had since April? I have been by there numerous times with my dog on weekends, and virtually every weekend, there's been a busy weekend in Eureka, there's been parking spots occupied by assumed Airbnb rentals for the past 6 months. Over the past 6 months, you have been in violation of your application that was approved by the commission. Last month, you were given an additional 30 days to secure a contract with an on-site manager which would fulfill the requirements of the bed and breakfast business at a Victorian residential district. They have not, this is 30 days, they were granted continuation. There is no on-site manager here to verify that their corrections have been made. I just want to say that these are the issues that are going to affect my vote. Thank you.
Fergie, do you have any questions? Or do you have any?
No, I think I make a motion that that we continue their CUP application.
Can you just say it's a 2-unit?
Oh, for the 2 units of their CUP application
At what address?
at, oh my goodness, at 8 Washington.
I
All right, so
second that.
We've got a motion to go ahead and continue the 2-unit CUP at 8 Washington. Owner is Funston. My mind just went blank. All those in favor signify by saying aye. All those opposed?
I'm opposed.
Well,
Okay.
Yeah, opposed.
yeah,
I'm
okay, so
opposed. Nay.
nay.
There you go.
Nay.
Nay.
All right, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 nays
Yeah.
and no yays.
I'm
As of right now, here at this Planning Commission meeting, that 2-unit CUP has been revoked. The property does have the opportunity to appeal it to City Council, and I just want to go ahead and read what the requirements are real quick. I finally found it in my big book.
Gotcha.
Okay, so an applicant or adjacent, well, an applicant wishing to appeal a decision of the Planning Commission approving or denying a conditional use may appeal the decision to the City Council, so long as written notice of intent to appeal and a statement of the reason the appeal should be granted is filed with the city within 15 days of the Planning Commission decision. The City Council, by majority vote, shall consider the Planning Commission's determination regarding a conditional use appeal at the City Council's next regularly scheduled meeting. The City Council, by majority vote, may uphold, modify in whole or in part, or reverse the decision of the Planning Commission, or may return the proposed conditional use to the Planning Commission for further study and recommendation. So that's where we're at right now. So do you know where that is in code?
No.
Okay, so I'll show you after the meeting, but they do have 15 days, and it will have to go to City Council, and I believe City Council's next meeting is Monday,
Right.
right, coming up?
That's right.
So it should be on City Council's agenda at the next meeting if
They
the
approve.
property owner fills out the paperwork for the appeal.
Okay.
But he's got 15 days. So All right, Mike, what's your question?
I move that the owners of the property cease and desist all commercial applications for the two units that they are in direct violation of. That it is their responsibility to cancel at this time any further committed reservations they have because they are in direct violation. They do not have an on-site manager, and they are not qualified to do commercial operations as a bed and breakfast or as a short-term rental for those two units.
I would, if it were me, I would ask the city.
Should that be seconded? Or?
But what the,
I'm moving that they
yeah,
suspend.
Michael, the only thing is that's part of the executive, and that's, that's the city council and the mayors and the code. They have to do that.
But
So-
now, just to clarify, if I move that, if nobody seconds it, then it dies, but there's no questions after I move it, right? You either approve it or not. So I'm just make public record that I want to state that I move that all commercial business operations be immediately terminated, that this business should not operate as a commercial business making a profit in violation of our code. And until they get the application renewed by show cause, at that point, they can resume commercial for-profit operations.
Does anybody want to second that? I would just like a clarification from the city.
I agree with the clarification, because there is a process by which they have to be notified that their
Right.
business permit has been pulled. And it could be, and I understand where you're coming from, Mike, but it could be that we have to go through the entire process of the appeal to city council before that action is taken. I don't know the answer to that.
But we can, as a planning commission, request that.
We can request that.
Yeah, we
yes.
can request that as a question for, city attorney, whoever you want to make that request to, just so we have a clarification as to what we're allowed to do while they're in this appeals process.
One more question.
Sure.
So as of right now, their application is being pulled. They are no longer right now
So their application,
is being suspended, or
in planning, we have taken their application away,
so they do not
But
have
they
a valid application right now.
but they still have an appeals
Right.
process.
Yeah, 15 days.
So it hasn't
Yeah.
officially been taken away
Okay.
from them yet.
Oh, there we go. That's all I
So,
need to know.
but if you want to make a motion that we all vote to get a clarification on where we stand as far as, what the rules and procedures are, as far as whether or not they can continue to operate or they can't operate during that appeals process, we could do something like, we could vote on something like that.
I'd like to withdraw my previous motion about suspending their commercial operations, and that I move that we allow them the time to review and go through the process of making this appeal before they terminate commercial operations.
Okay, do you want that as so we can all agree or disagree?
Yeah.
Okay, does anybody want to second that?
I'll second.
Okay, so we've got a motion to, allow the appeals process to play out before anything is done as far as them generating,
Profits.
them operating. So rather than shutting them down, we're going to allow the appeals process to work, which it looks like we've only got 1 week till the city council meeting anyway. So
Okay.
all those in
Thank you.
favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
City
Susan?
council going to meet on Monday, I think, don't they?
Yeah.
No, but
Susan?
Yes.
I should have said this earlier, but I just need this for my clarity. Did anyone second the motion to continue the CUP before the vote happened?
Nope.
Thought we did.
I thought I
Yeah,
did.
she-
You did?
Yeah,
Okay.
I did, yeah.
Sorry, I did not hear you. I just want to make sure we have that.
I know, I got everybody confused, I'm sorry.
That's okay. Okay, so let's go into new business. So Ann, we have, which we finally have, our B&B ordinance updates.
Right. Good
So
job.
you want to go ahead and start that discussion? Oh, let's make a motion. I'll make a motion to go ahead and discuss B&B ordinance updates.
Second that.
Second.
All right, so we've got a motion and a second. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, let's go.
I guess everybody's had an opportunity to look at this.
Yep.
Does anybody have any questions? Suggestions? modifications.
I'm happy that we have
I
now
think it looks
defined a
good.
unit.
Me too.
Yes? Go ahead, Bert.
So I'd like to make a motion that we submit the modified B&B ordinance, an ordinance amending Title 14.08 of the Eureka Springs Municipal Code to the City Council.
Second.
Okay.
All right, we've got a motion and a second.
I have a
Can I add
concern.
one? Pardon?
I have a concern
Before we vote?
before we vote.
Okay, I have a question too before we vote.
So the way this is written, if you go to section 5, it says bed and breakfast with the exception of the existing
Legally
list
non-conforming.
of LNC properties and CUPs. There's going to be a list of everybody that's current. So depending on what happens with the appeal with 8 Washington, they may or may not come off the list. In addition to that, we have others that are not serving breakfast. Managers are in question. Do we want to just move forward with this? And as we address those others, modify the attachment of who we take off the list?
Yeah. I think we ought to treat it like a living document and just modify it as we need to, and submit those changes to the City Council.
Okay, I just have a question about breakfast.
Question about what?
About breakfast.
Which one are you on?
So I'm on, well, I don't see it here. Am I not looking at it the way I should be?
Where?
Which one are you looking
You
at?
look at this one? You looking at this one?
I'm looking at this one that I have, 1408. Oh, do I not have the right one?
Yeah, 1408. Which section are you talking about?
Well, I don't see anything about breakfast.
It talks about what a unit is.
Yeah, but it doesn't say anything about a breakfast. So would that mean that once this ordinance was put in place, if it was voted on by City Council, would that mean that an attorney could go and say, well, there's nothing in here that says anything about doing breakfast, so why are you guys still asking people to do breakfast?
Can I?
Well, then let's just put it back in there.
Okay,
I mean, it's
well, I
been-
just wondered if,
No,
I
mean,
missed
I'm-
something completely.
I'm good with that. I mean, this has been modified so many times that, yes, we could have missed something. So where the bed and breakfast, we can,
Okay, so
I have a
do you want to review it and bring it back to the next meeting? Or do you want to, I mean, because you're going to have it written correctly, right?
Let me see. Definition.
I mean, unless I'm looking at something wrong here, I don't see, I know it says bed and breakfast, but there's nothing in here that says, hey, you have to advertise as a bed and breakfast, hey, you have to state on your website that you're a bed and breakfast, hey, you have to, I don't see it.
Well, he defines what a unit is, so he could very well define what
That's what I say, a
breakfast is, too.
B&B. Yeah, there should be a definition.
Okay, Mike, what's your question?
trying to, I've been reading this book about this procedures. I'm trying to not stick my hand up until everybody else is speaking. This just addresses the ordinance
Right.
rules about it. In the code book, the definitions, which is our separate matter completely, describe what a bed and breakfast is. In that definition of different qualifications for all of the structures within the zones, the definition of a bed and breakfast in there states that they must serve breakfast.
Okay, so is it?
That's a separate
okay.
section than that.
What are the numbers then? Because we've got 140805, 140808.
Yeah, 14.
I just want to look at it and see, to make sure that it's, because I know we had some questions about that too. And one of the questions, or one of the items we had was that they have to mark it as a bed and breakfast. They have to show that they're doing a breakfast. So I'm just wondering if,
so what we're saying is in this proposal to the city council is going to change what's in the code book. We're rewriting
Yep.
it for the code book. Is that correct?
Yep.
that's my understanding.
Then I would like to take it and rewrite it
Because I know that was one of our issues
and
was,
get it back out to everybody. But yeah, I don't want to do that tonight. Let me
Okay.
take this, put this together, and send it out.
Because in reality, if you're not advertising that you're a bed and breakfast and you're not saying you're serving a breakfast, then you're a tourist lodging.
I totally agree. Now, I will say this, that when we have gone before, and I'll combine these two the best I can, we tried to get it passed. I believe that in the ordinance that on any type of social media or wherever you're advertising, you have to list those sites on your business license, and that was denied. Is that what you're saying you want done?
No.
Or are you just saying
No,
that
I'm just saying
we
that
have to advertise
if you're going to advertise
on social media that you are a bed and breakfast and that you serve breakfast?
or on your website or on,
Okay.
I mean, you can do Expedia, you can do Booking.com. I mean, anywhere you're advertising your business, you should state that you're a bed and breakfast. I mean, that's what you are. Airbnb, there's a category for bed and breakfast. That's where you need to be posted. You need to be listed.
The breakfast is included in the price of the room,
And
correct?
that's what our original
That's what I
code
thought.
said, was that the breakfast was included in the price of the room.
Okay, I will clean this up and get
Just
it out.
before we send it over.
No, I totally agree.
Yeah.
Okay,
Totally
I'll
agree.
withdraw my motion to approve it. How's that?
Okay, so Ann, you're just going to
Withdraw
bring it
second.
back to the next meeting? Or how do you want to go about doing this? I mean, we could do a special meeting if we had to.
I was going to say, let's maybe do a special meeting. Let me get with Ida.
Okay,
Let me get this done as soon as possible. Let me get with Cassie, and then we'll maybe do a special meeting. I don't know that we'll do it before Monday, but maybe before their second meeting this month.
yeah.
Okay.
Okay. All right, so Mike, did you have another question?
I'm trying to do it by not sticking my hand up like this when everybody else is
That's
talking.
okay.
So I want to make sure I let it respect her to give her confidence before I start asking. Just for policy and procedure here, any of us have the right to make a motion at any time regarding to the subject, and then the motion is stated, it either gets seconded or not. If it doesn't, it dies. If it gets seconded, then it's open up for discussion, and then we do a vote. Is that the procedure? Okay. I move that the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, set a cap of 21 bed and breakfast locations allowed within the city limits, and that number be reviewed with each census depending on the population density of the city of Eureka Springs.
Okay, I'll second it just so we can have discussion.
Yeah, because we're having discussion, just not voting on it, we're just talking.
So, okay, so
Can I state my reasons?
Okay, so you said you would like to cap it at 21,
Which is what we have currently.
and this is for the current CUPs
For bed and
for
breakfast.
bed and breakfast.
Correct. I've got the numbers listed on the sheets that were passed out.
Okay,
The business
so-
locations are 7 here, 10 over here.
So
There's
number
20.
one, I would want to verify that number,
Okay, If you
just to
show-
make sure that we know exactly how many we have, because obviously we took,
yeah. In,
didn't we remove some? We had at least one that I know we did with the LNC.
I can, on the current paperwork I was given regarding this. on
When were you
dis-
given that?
I was given an email from her.
Okay,
Yeah, the email from her. That's it. Yeah, thank you. Sorry. Okay. In District R1 Victorian Residential, she's got the list there. There are 7 current ones. That's 7.
okay,
That is legal, non-conforming buildings, bed and breakfasts, and it's listed. The next one is existing conditional uses, bed and breakfast. There is a distinction here.
okay, so you've got 7 LNCs,
Yep. And I've got 10 existing conditional uses,
okay?
and then I've got 4 under R2 contemporary residential, existing conditional uses, there are 4.
And those are just straight CUPs? Not LNCs?
Nope. These are 21 total, and I think when can I continue? I don't want to be rude.
No, go ahead.
When I started looking at this, Hot Springs and both Bentonville have issued caps, bona fide caps. This is not precedent. They already existed based on their occupation, their census numbers. And given there were like they were given a rate of about 300 to 1, 300 residents for each bed and breakfast they're allowing. With 21, with 2,600 people, we're offering one for almost every 200 people. So we have a more dense population, but we're allowing more bed and breakfasts than the other two standards are. So based on a 2,000 current population by the census, I'm moving, we have a cap of 21, the current amount. And at the next census, if the numbers move up forward or more, we can increase it or decrease it. But my current move is to set a cap on the amount of current bed and breakfasts at 21 allowed within the city limits. And that,
Okay, now, hold on.
okay, sorry.
So if you say within the city limits, that includes commercial? Are
We
are you
can't touch
focusing on?
Okay.
Yeah,
What we're doing on this ordinance
this is residential.
only affects R1, R2, and R3.
Okay, I
We
can,
have a moratorium right now, no new bed and breakfast.
okay,
Cleaning all this up in R1, R2, and 3, I thought, my opinion is how I understand this, is once we get, depending on what we do with 8 Washington, maybe a couple more, that's it. And if we take it, let's just say there's 10 total. If we take this to city council and they approve that, and there's 10 on the list, there's 5 CUPs and there's 5 legal nonconforming. Those properties will be able to be transferred as long as they are in good standing, should they be sold. The only difference would be in this ordinance, this new ordinance, they cannot be run by managers. They have to be owner occupied. And then if they sell those properties and the people that buy those properties decide, I don't want a bed and breakfast, and it goes away, it doesn't come back.
Okay.
And that is the list. Now, that was my understanding how we were going to do this. But yeah, in looking at this list, I don't agree with the number. I want to go through this again.
okay.
Because I
Don't-
have,
I cross-referenced every address. I
Yeah, the
cross-referenced.
only thing I have to say about this is, what about the tourist lodging? Because in reality, we have several tourist lodgings that are in residential zones too. So the concern is if you say, okay, we're only going to have 21 bed and breakfasts. You've only discussed part of the issue. So the second half of your conversation, in my opinion, should be, what about tourist lodging? Because if you're going to say we're going to cap bed and breakfast, then shouldn't we cap tourist lodging?
well, we've already taken care of tourist lodging.
I understand that, but like you said, if this ordinance gets passed, this all
That's
is
it.
done anyway.
Yeah. Okay.
So it's really dependent upon
All right,
what city council does.
I'll get with Cassie and,
Can I finish mine?
yes,
Sure.
sorry, yeah.
I wish to withdraw and clarify the previous motion, and I move that the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas set a cap of 21 bed and breakfast locations exclusively within the R1 Victorian residential districts and the R2 contemporary residential districts.
Would be R1, R2, and R3.
That's it, just no. The other one is not in R3.
You don't, well,
Yeah.
we just need to verify the properties, though.
Yeah, but the ones I have noted here, the 4, the 10, and the 7,
Okay.
are only in those 2 districts.
I'm just going to say one thing. You do know that with this ordinance, if we get it cleaned up, there will be no more bed and breakfasts anyway. So your cap would already be in
Does
place.
it say that?
That's what it's
Does it say
going,
that
that's
there are
what
no more
it's,
allowed?
that's what's
Right.
going to say, yes.
Okay, well, like I say, I want to make this motion and then go from there. So I'm going to clarify my motion is, I move that the city of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, set a cap of 21 bed and breakfast business locations within District R1 Victorian Residential and District R2 Contemporary Residential. And that this cap be reviewed with each census depending on the population density of Eureka Springs.
Okay, what happens if,
Okay, can somebody second or let it pass?
I'll second it for
Okay.
discussion.
There we go.
Okay,
I'm trying to get steps involved in these.
What I'm saying, what happens if this goes to city council on Monday and they go ahead, I know it's not going there, but just say it goes, and they say, you know what, we're in agreement of what you've submitted to us in that there shall be no more bed and breakfasts in R1, R2, R3. What happens to your motion?
Should I submit a motion to discuss?
No, just go ahead.
Okay.
That's all I'm asking.
Now, clarify that again for me,
So right now, in the ordinance draft,
which has not been submitted yet.
correct, but section 5 right now, we're saying that with the exception of the existing LNCs and the current CUPs that are already out there, there shall be no more bed and breakfasts permitted in R1, R2, and R3.
Okay. That is,
So
That
what I'm
is- that-
saying
I
is
know.
your motion then would be null and void, or your,
but my motion is immediate. That's hypothetically making the adjustments and whether it's going to pass. I'm just making a motion that
Right.
based on the current amount in those two districts, which are 21, that be the cap that we're allowed to issue new licenses based on the information we have today.
okay, so what you're asking is you're asking for a cap of 21. So
Yeah.
if one of them goes away, then you're saying we could add another one.
Yeah.
But what this ordinance says,
That's hypothetical, hasn't been done.
I understand.
This is immediate.
Right, but what this ordinance says, if it gets passed, is that there are no more.
Okay.
Okay,
Yeah.
so we've got a motion and a second, and what he's asking is that we cap it at 21, and then it's based on population,
No, well, it's based on the current amounts that are here right now.
okay? So,
And it can be reviewed at the census.
so if the population
Change.
goes up or the population goes down, the number could change.
Yeah, the cap would allow if 2 or 3 people lose their license, or this one right now, there would be 2 openings. So that the cap will be 21 in those 2 districts for till the next census is approved. If 3 people drop out and 3 people come back in, they can get 3 more and it'll be 21. There won't be any more than, but I don't think it's fair really if you just stop it right now. If 2 people, for whatever reasons they can't control, they lose their B&B license, that there can never be any more. So if you always start, for technicality purposes, legal issues, not filing their forms in time, not paying their dues, you could potentially lose every single bed and breakfast in this town if you do it that way. This gives you a cap of 21, so if 2 or 3 people lose, you can put 2 or 3 people in there to replace them. I support bed and breakfast. I think that those things help our community. It puts a good vibe out there. If we start eliminating the ones that are there and reducing the amount we have right now, how far do we reduce it to before we stop? So that's my point. Like I say, I'm just making the motion.
Did you have a question?
Well, I mean, I don't want to confuse city council.
It's pretty easy to
Stuff
do.
before there and it gets lost in the cloud somewhere, you know.
This is the other thing too, as we go through this and when we make a decision. There are parking requirements on bed and breakfast. There are some buildings that maybe that's all they're going to be. People can always come to planning to get a variance on a B&B. The biggest problem we've had is that when we said no more tourist lodging in our 1, 2, and 3, people rushed to get a bed and breakfast license.
That's right.
And what's happened, they become tourist lodgings because they don't live there. And we know this, and we're working on it. I prefer just to wait until we get this all cleaned up, take it to city council. They may say, no, we want more, we want less. But for me, it's just confusing this issue a little bit more with the capping at 21.
One last thing. We only have 2.5 months to get this finished, otherwise the moratorium expires, right, the temporary. We have to have this in concrete, something that states the amount within 10 weeks. We have to have it written into law by then, or the moratorium expires, and I'm not going to be comfortable with asking for another one. So if you're confident that we can get this all done within 2.5 months, that's fine. If not, if I set the cap right, I apologize. If we set the cap, we can revisit the cap later, because within the moratorium can expire, and we'll still have a cap. And what I'm doing here is just trying to protect with the cap any more additional, because of all of the public comments of the current B&B owners that are losing money because of the issues you spoke to as to operating Airbnbs and those licenses. But I can't control that. The only thing I can do is try to protect the current businesses that are established. I think 21, which is what we have right now, is a reasonable cap. And this will settle this issue until we can revisit it and change it and make adjustments. Otherwise, but if you're confident we can get this thing concreted in cement before the moratorium expired, I'm all for it. I just,
Okay, so
I just need- I
if
just
we
need-
were to do a cap at 21, we would have to create the ordinance, and we'd have to get city council to vote on it
sure.
before we did this.
Hey, like I say, if you're confident, you guys, I haven't worked with you folks very much. You've been working together for a long time. I know that Ann's put a lot of time and a lot of energy into this. And
I feel confident that I can get with Cassie and Ida, and we can get this done and get a special meeting for the second meeting of City Council in October.
okay, for a third reading of it, of the ordinance.
This will be when
Okay,
it goes for the very first
Okay,
time.
yeah, I'm just saying, but you know the experience here. You folks have been here a lot longer than mine.
We'll have to,
And
we will approve the language before it goes to City Council.
And based on your experience with city council, do you think they will get a third reading before the moratorium expires?
I don't think that's an issue. I don't think
Okay.
they have to. I think that if they agree with us, they will do the right thing.
How long have we been working on this?
8 years.
So, I'm laughing, I mean to say,
Yeah.
if you,
So-
like I say, you often know what, you know the
Yeah.
process here.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to get a stopgap.
I think it's great. The only question I had was, the new subdivision we did on Pivot Rock Road, are those houses, is that part of R3 now? Is that R3 is everything except R2 and R1? Is that, does it, you know what I'm saying? Does the new housing in Pivot Rock Road, that new subdivision, is that part of R3 now?
I think it's R2.
So it's an area. It's not so much, that's what I'm trying to figure out. It's an actual residential zone in a
Yes.
physical map. Okay.
Yes.
So R3 is the, I guess we saw that the east side of, or the south side of the town, I guess, is the over there.
Yeah, I don't have a really good
Yeah.
zoning map, but yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So it is an area specific. So that's what I was trying to get to. I was just trying to make
Yeah,
sure.
it's just the residential
Yeah.
zones. The commercial, I talked to Ida about this. Apparently, we do have some commercial bed and breakfasts that do not have managers or owners that live on site.
Right.
The process there is they will convert their license from a bed and breakfast to a tourist lodging. We have no say over that at all,
Yeah.
other than to say you have to live there, and if you don't, then I guess she converts it. On my experience in the 8 years of planning, we have never dealt with commercial.
Yeah.
That's why.
Yeah, that's why I think that's a good idea to go ahead and do that, because, if they have a bed and breakfast license, then my question is always, does the code apply to them as the definition? So a bed and breakfast is, has to have an owner or a manager on site, and they have to serve breakfast. But if they're in a commercial zone, and,
But right now, for the purpose of this ordinance,
yeah.
it's R1, R2, and R3.
Right.
Yeah, that's what my motion is to do, specifically address those two. And I have one more question for Ann regarding the time on this. When you make your changes and your adjustments and your finalize, you have to bring it back to us to vote on the approval, right?
Correct.
So
we
you're
can
going
do
to
a
have,
special meeting.
so you have to have, before it goes to city council, we're going to have a special meeting, make sure we have a quorum here, approve it,
Correct.
and then send it to the city council, and that has to be done. The city council meeting is when, next week?
It's going to have to be the second city council meeting in October.
Okay.
There's no way that we can get this done before next Monday.
And if they want, they can
That's what I mean.
suspend the rules.
Yeah, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying, but we have to have a special meeting
Right.
and have a quorum to
Yeah.
approve it before
And-
it can be
yeah.
submitted.
And it's a two-way street at the council because they may send it
That's-
back to
that's-
us with modifications.
That's all I need to know is that, to clarify that the changes can't just be made and submitted to the council. They have to come
No,
back to
it
us.
has to be
for
approved by
special-
the planning commission.
Yeah, we
And
have
then-
to approve it as a commission
And if for any
before.
reason we don't have a quorum,
Right.
it
Well,
can't
we
get
should.
approved and it'll be kicked again. Okay, I don't know specifically the rules.
I
I'm just
get it.
trying to clarify them That way, if it happens, I'll say, oh, well, anyway, so I agree with you.
Okay.
Okay, so
You guys can shoot me down.
we did a motion and a second to discuss.
Okay?
So officially, since we've got no, it's just to discuss. So, okay. Okay. Are we good?
We have a vote?
Go
Well,
I moved it.
We did a
And he
second to
seconded it.
discuss.
Yeah, but he
So-
seconded it, so after discussion, what do you do? I moved it.
We can vote. We can
That's what I'm
vote
saying. Is that the
to
procedure?
Put a cap. We can vote,
But that's what I'm
put a
saying.
cap.
Is the procedure for this is we make a motion, it's seconded, or it's denied. If we make a seconded, then it goes for
We can go ahead
discussion,
vote,
and then it
Mike.
votes.
We can vote, go ahead. So
Okay.
what Mike is asking is that we put a cap of 21
Mm-hmm.
on any bed and breakfasts that are currently in R1, R2, and R3, even though we don't maybe have any in R3.
Okay?
We had a second,
And that we revisited at each census.
and that it's reviewed at each census.
Mm-hmm.
All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
There.
So, there you go.
It's okay.
I'm trying to be polite and go by
I
the
know.
rules.
No, that's fine.
Okay.
Don't raise my hand when other people are speaking.
That's okay. Okay, so we're going to go to number 2, which was switched from number 3, which was additional show cause hearing discussion. This was something that I put on here. So I know we have some other properties, and we have started the process of doing show causes for the properties that we knew had issues. Are we all in agreement that we will continue this process over the next couple months? So our next meeting will have, I know that we have one that will probably show up, which is 5 Ridgeway.
Right.
If there are any other properties that we want to add, either tourist lodging or bed and breakfast, let's do those.
Yep.
My suggestion is we continue this process so we get these things cleaned up,
Yeah.
because we still have at least a
Yeah,
month before.
I think it's one of the most, most substantial things we've done since I've been on the planning commission. So I like it. I like the show
So I
cause
know-
hearings.
And you've got some properties. I know.
Yeah,
Anybody
I'll
else
get
has
with-
any other ones?
I'll send a list to Cassie to get to you. And then I just hate to announce addresses.
No, I agree. But I'm just saying, if we can just say that we will have some more properties
Correct.
on our, I can't remember
Show
what date it
cause,
is.
show
Is it
cause?
the 8th? No, it's the 12th of November?
Oh, in November? Yeah.
November
12th,
something.
right.
Anyway, at our next meeting, so we can continue to clean up the issues that we have out there.
Okay.
So, okay. Number 2 was dropped to number 3, area development workshop. So we did have a workshop with Jim Van Tuglin.
Yep.
I thought it was very helpful.
Yeah, I thought it was outstanding. I really liked that a lot. I've been the planning area boundary issue that we brought up. I think that's going to be a really good way of getting a picture of where we're going to try to because one of the things, and I think the mayor said this about consistency. You know, having more consistent boundaries, because we have places, especially where the left side of the road is in the city limits and the right side's not. So we have almost we talked about that consistency, and then we talked about 1 mile from the city border that we put a planning area with the county clerk's office. And then the day after, we could actually do an annex request. I mean, so it was very good. I liked the meeting. And one thing I didn't know was that we could provide limited services. I had no idea that in Arkansas, Texas you can't, but in Arkansas apparently you can, which is great. So just on the annexation announcement, you put fire and PD, and that's it. So,
Well, garbage, he said garbage.
Yeah,
At
garbage,
least when I
yeah.
talk to him.
Yeah.
Garbage is usually
right.
included.
But I'd always thought that you had to provide sewer, but apparently not. You can just put that on there, and but yeah, so it changes the dynamic drastically, because I always thought that we had to provide the water in the sewer, and that was a big limitation. But if we don't, then wow.
You would if you said you were gonna,
Yeah.
but not if you don't say it. So, does anybody else have any thoughts on that workshop? Okay, so based on that workshop, if we move to number 4, which is Eureka Springs future zoning opportunities, we have the opportunity to do an area development plan.
Right.
We are the only commission that can do that. And based on my conversation with Jim, he suggested that in order to formally do this, if this is something that we want to do, is that we get buy-in from City Council. So we present it to City Council and say that this is what we would like to do. We'd like to create an area development plan for the purpose of future development of Eureka Springs, which means we can establish where those areas are that we would like to possibly have on our development plan for future annexation. We have the ability to go out a mile if we decided we wanted to go, full mile all the way around, or if we only wanted to cherry pick areas. But his suggestion is we take it to City Council when we get approval from City Council to move forward with it, and then at the same time that we request funding. We don't know how much it's going to cost. None of us are experts. I don't think there are experts on City Council.
Yeah.
But there will be in reality, there would be a fee associated with somebody doing that for us. If that is nothing more than, based on his discussion, making sure that we have the correct, what do you call it?
You talking about the legal description of the area?
Yeah, the legal
Right.
description, because it has to then go to, it'd have to go to
Has to
Berryville.
go, right, has to go to the county,
We'd
the
have to
county
file
clerk,
it with the
right?
county, but we want to make sure that those legal descriptions on those areas that we're
Match.
looking at. If we just say it's a mile out around the entire Eureka Springs city limits, we could do that too. Or, I know we talked about, does it make sense? We talked about, some of those lines that are in there, out there on 23 by 8 cords and stuff. One side of the street
Right.
is county, and one side of the street is city limits.
Yep.
23 going to Holiday Island. Is there anything there that makes sense? And then, of course, we have 62 going towards Berryville and
Right.
also towards Inspiration Point. It doesn't mean that we're going to annex. It just means that
yeah,
if
they
we
have
come up with
10.
that plan,
Right.
then we've established what could possibly be future annexation in Eureka.
Did he give you any indication of the cost on this? Did he
No.
give you anybody to call about the cost? of
No,
this?
and, go
Yeah.
ahead.
He was showing, I think, Searcy, an example of what they did in Searcy. And Searcy had a river and, different highways that could delineate, it goes up to the river or goes up the highway, whatever.
Yeah.
And, we don't really have that here. So the cost is going to be, I guess, on getting a legal description.
Right.
And I don't, it's.
Yeah, get a survey.
It could be
yeah.
substantial. I mean, if you start talking about trying to, establish.
And I don't know, and that's another question. I don't know if the city has that capability, or if they want to take on that capability, or if they want to make sure that it is done correctly before it's filed with the county office.
Well, I make a motion that.
One more question?
Sure?
I would like to, we're discussing the expansion of our zoning districts. I would like to strike the word annexation
Oh,
from any
sure,
of our
sure,
conversations.
sure. Yeah,
This
sure.
is not for annexation.
That's right.
This is to expand our regulation of payment for services that the city provides within that district.
So the area development plan that we would be taking to city council is just for future development. That's what this is
Good,
right
yeah.
now.
Because
Now, once that's done, if we're sitting here, or if another group is sitting here and they decide, hey, you know what? We think that this is the development area that needs to be annexed, then that discussion can happen then.
That's why, the reason I want to make this a public record is because the last time we discussed it, when the mayor asked about going 1 mile up toward Passion Play,
Yeah.
the folks down in, what's that area down by Lookout Point, Observation Point?
Oh, yeah, that.
What's that little community, Knob Hill or something? 20 residents of Knob Hill.
Yeah,
Yeah, 20 residents that live there saw that in the paper.
Right.
grassy
Called the
knob.
government, the mayor's
grassy
office,
knob.
immediately all 20 of them saying, we do not want to be annexed.
Right.
That's what I'm saying. We're not discussing annexing anybody's property right here.
Right.
We're only discussing expanding our planning boundaries.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't want people call ahead and when they read this tomorrow and say, oh my God, it's like-
Is everybody clear on that? Area development plan is for future development.
I make a motion that, Susan, you take it to city council to get approval
for the area development plan
Right.
and a budget
Second.
funding.
Okay,
Exactly.
so we've got a motion and a second to go ahead and present the idea of an area development plan which will allow future growth in Eureka Springs, and also the discussion of either recommendations, a budget, whatever we need in order to go ahead and do this plan. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? All right, so. Okay, we've got number 5, approval of the minutes from the September 10th meeting.
Motion to approve the minutes of the September 10th meeting.
Second?
All right, we've got a motion and a second to approve the minutes from our September 10th meeting. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, those are approved. All right, agenda setting. Ann, you're going to bring, we may have a special meeting.
No, my plan is to have a special meeting.
Okay, so we need to go ahead and schedule a special meeting for the B&B updates, correct?
Well, I would rather get with Cassie and Ida.
I know, but Cassie will send out something that says,
Yes, but I
we're
don't
at this
want to, I don't want
point.
to set a date.
Okay, correct. What I'm just saying
Okay.
is that,
We're
well,
going to do
that's true. It'll be before our
We're
meeting
going to do a
anyway.
special meeting.
Okay, so we're going to do a special meeting for that once we kind of figure all of that out.
Okay.
Hopefully, if you can make a request to City Council, if we could do the ADP discussion at their next meeting, if we can still get it on their agenda for their Monday meeting, that would be awesome. So the area development plan, if you can make a request to Butch to put on their agenda for Monday, if it's not too late, the request to get buy-in from City Council on moving forward with that area development plan. Okay? It is too late. Is it 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, you already got it. Okay, so then we'll do it for, when's your next
November?
meeting? What date?
Or, no, they got 2, and they got
3 weeks.
2
from
weeks after
yesterday.
that one. 2 weeks after that one. Yeah.
So October 28th. So if we could make a request to have it on the October 28th
Okay.
agenda for City Council. Do we have anything else? Do we have anything else that we want to put on the agenda? We have the show causes,
Right.
so that can go on the agenda, because it sounds like we may do some of these things before our next meeting anyway. So the ADP would be in October that we would present it to the City Council. We may do a special meeting for the B&B thing. We are going to have show causes on our next meeting for November, for the 12th,
Correct.
correct? We'll have our meeting, our minutes. What else do we have? Do we have anything else? Oh, the 19 Fairmont
Or 21 Paramount.
or 21 Fairmont. We need to clarify that address, and it's been postponed to our next
Site
meeting, so
survey.
they will be on our November 12th meeting.
Right.
Yes.
Gonna do a site survey.
What else? Anything else? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
You want- yeah,
so
that's it.
I think that's our agenda
Okay.
for November
No,
12th.
that's enough. That's a lot.
Commissioner comments. Ann, you want to go first?
I have nothing, thank you.
Mike?
I want to piggyback on Steve's in emphasis about the opposing that proposition to eliminate the CAPC. We have 2 serious issues coming before the city of Eureka Springs, and we need to get the public as involved and informed as possible. The impact that losing the CAPC would do on our tourism, and another one that is just as important to get the public informed on is the issue with the sewer system and the raising of the rates. We need to let people know, because that is a vote. Both of those are voted on. And we need to make sure, people talk about raising rates on their water bill. They have a tendency to panic unless they know the reason why. And I just want to piggyback on Steve's comments that we need to that we need to take a stand and do everything we can within the restrictions of our position here to inform the public on these 2 serious matters. the continuation of the CAPC and the efforts to raise the water rates in order to save our infrastructure. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Tom?
I would like to compliment the new building inspector. He did bring to us a tree cut permit. He's only been on the job a couple of weeks. The last inspector, the whole time he was there, only brought 4 tree cuts to us. So I do compliment the new building inspector for reading the tree ordinance and forwarding something to us as the ordinance provides. Thank you.
Fergie?
Well, we had the Corvette this last weekend, and it really did really well. I had to be out of town this weekend, but one thing I want to remind people of is, we've had a serious hurricane come through and do devastation in North Carolina and Georgia, and we need to look out for those people and help if we can, and also just check to make sure that you know what the emergency plan is in our area. It's on the emergency management website at Carroll County, on the Carroll County site. So look at that, and actually is an escape plan for Carroll County. So please investigate that. Be aware of your own surroundings, and that's all I got.
I don't have anything.
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
All right, we've got a motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Meeting adjourned.
Okay.
I'll be in touch.
Yeah.